Hello again, everyone. This video is part of my video series about the game of Go. This video is aimed at beginners who have only recently learned the rules of the game and want to understand more about this game. Specifically, it's about the opening phase of the game of Go, or how to find good opening moves. Before I begin, I'd like to give a word of caution. This phase of the game, the opening of the game of Go, is probably the least important phase for beginners to look at. It's not that your first few moves won't have an effect on the game. They will have a tremendous effect. But if you're really a total beginner, one who only learned rules, other aspects such as capturing the opponent's stones when you can, and saving your own stones from capture when it's possible, are a lot more important. I have decided to do a basic video on the opening phase simply because it does help not to have a complete phase of the game which is blank for you, that you will have some idea of what to do or what to think about here, just so that the game won't be so random. And it will affect the results of some of the games you play, of course. But the important things are, at the beginning, stone capture, saving stones, life and death, and of course playing the game, playing as many games as possible if you want to improve. With that in mind, let's begin. The problem with the game of Go, or the first moves of the game of Go, is that it can be so daunting. The board is so big, so many places to play. The open board, the completely open and empty board, raises so many questions. Do I play the center point? That seems nice. Maybe I play the 4-4 point, the top right edge of the board. Or on the side, perhaps, or another move altogether. What about after I played the first move? How do I continue? Let's try to deal with them by introducing a very important concept in the game of Go. That concept is the concept of efficiency. It is the most important core concept in the game. It affects all phases of the game. But right now I'd like to look at that concept from the standpoint of the opening phase. Efficiency is simply the fact that we want to get the most we can with the fewest moves. That is, we don't just want to take a lot of territory. We want to take it with as few moves as possible. What I mean by that is, if we just surround territory like this, yes, we have surrounded a lot of territory. The problem is, of course, that while we were doing that, our opponent had turns of his own, and he just played them all over the board. When we played our few stones on top, I simply got an overwhelming position all over the board. He has so much potential areas of territory, and he only needs how many? How many points do we have here? Well, that's 14 points. All he needs is 14 points in all this. You can probably get it quite easily. The problem Black is facing is due to a simple application of the efficiency theory. You don't just want to have that many points. You want to play less moves for them. So Black played 7 stones for 14 points. Each stone gave him 2 points. Now let's try another scenario. Let's say Black played only 2 moves in this corner. As you improve in the game, you will find out that there are plenty of ways to surround territory in fewer moves. For example, you will quickly find this formation, which completely surrounds the territory in the corner. This area is Black's. If you want it, you can keep it till the end of the game. That is 11 points with only 2 stones. That already seems like a major improvement over 14 points with 7 stones. With that in mind, let's think about which moves will be efficient, more efficient or less efficient. We begin with, where do we begin? What places, what areas around the board are the most effective to begin the game on? You've probably heard that from other players or in some guide about the game, that the most important areas at the beginning of the game are the corners. Why is that? It's the simple fact that in the corners there are already 2 walls, 2 borders of the board that helps you make territory. You only need to make the other 2 walls. So it's much easier to make territory in the corners at the beginning of the game. Well, if we just stretch that a bit further, go a bit further, and we see that on the side there is 1 wall. We only need to place 3 of the walls ourselves. Therefore, the sides are the places we probably want to go to after the corners. And in the center, we need to surround the territory we need to surround all the 4 walls, and that will take so many moves. While we try to do that, our opponent plays these moves elsewhere, simply gets more. That's why we usually start in the corners. Oh, where do we start? Let's just clean these, or they'll come back every time I go to the initial board position. The exact moves we want to play in the corners are not an issue for this video. I will make one about this topic. It will be a bit more advanced for beginners who have already played a bit and know the game, know the mechanics of the game. So if you want to play here, or here, or here, or anywhere near the corners, it's fine. Just, you know not to get way too far. And you probably know not to go overboard with playing in the corners and just place your stone where it doesn't even try to get any points, ever. The exact points you want to play in, and their meanings, will be covered, as I've said, in a different video. That does raise the question of what happens next. You've played a move in a corner, and the opponent plays a move in his own corner. What do you do now? According to the same principle of efficiency, we usually go to a new empty corner and not add a second move in the corner we've already played in. Is it always wrong to play something else? No, it's not. Definitely not. But playing in an empty corner first, in the empty corners first, is a very simple, basic way to play well and learn from. Use it as a solid base to begin expanding your knowledge of the game from. Although, as you keep playing, you'll notice even much better players keep playing this way. That does raises another question. As with all knowledge, the more we know, the more questions we have to ask about what we know. Now that the game has started to take shape, we see what areas of the board each side is trying to control, and the open corners are now controlled. What next? Next, again, according to the principle of efficiency, we know we won't play a move like this. We will try to gain more. But the open corners are already, well, not so open. Each corner has a stone in it. Because of the principle of efficiency, in the early stages of the game, we work towards sketching out areas. For example, Black might want to sketch out an area on the bottom edge of the board or on the right side. or along one of the corners. So usually the next phase will be to enclose one of your own corners. And look at that, Black just added the second move, and already it seems very difficult for White to do anything about it. He can prevent the opponent from trying to enclose his own. This is called an approach move. You will notice, if you learn about the game from other sources, you will encounter two important terms. An approach move to a lone cornerstone will be called a kakari. That's the Japanese term, which you will often encounter, so it might be a good idea to know what it means. And the corner enclosures, such as these two stones, which enclose this corner, is called a shimari in Japanese, just so you know if you encounter these terms elsewhere. So you can enclose your own corners, you can approach an opponent's corner. Which is better? I don't know. No one can probably tell you that. I will not go into the mechanics of what is the meaning of different approaches and different enclosing moves. This is a very basic video designed to just give you the idea of what you're looking for. It's important to experiment with different ideas yourself. Discover many subtleties that are very difficult to explain in a single short video. You can also note that there are many open areas along the sides of the board. These are called the big open areas, just the open areas, or the big areas in the opening phase. And you really want to try to take control of them because they help you sketch out the territory. For example, if Black would just enclose, for example, the right side, and White focuses on the left side. It's a pretty unusual opening, but we're just trying to give you an idea. Then this lone R10 stone started to sketch all the right side for Black. It didn't give him the points, but is getting close to that. Of course, Black could decide to just prevent White from doing the same. And the rest of the game would probably go along these lines where each player approaches an opponent's corner, closes his own corners, plays along the sides, and the process will continue until a fight breaks out. And when a fight breaks out, the game transitions from the opening phase to the middle game phase, and the opening is not necessarily over here. It will only be over when all the big open areas have been taken, or when a fight breaks out between the two players, two armies. In my next video about the opening, I will examine what can happen around the corners, not in precise details, just to give you a rough idea. I will examine what happens when you play over-aggressive opponents, as I'm sure many of you will, who do not take open corners, will just start trying to attack your stones from move 1 or 3 or any move in the game. How do you respond to that in the early phases? And other things to think about in the opening phase, which will just give you ideas on what to look for. But for now, I think this was a basic introduction to the opening phase of the game. Anyone who found that useful will definitely find the part 2 of the opening phase video even more useful than that. We'll talk about how to continue the opening after the corners have been taken in a little bit more detail. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!